Hey, it's Tom. This is G-Shock First Impressions, and was an unboxing. Kind of already did that video. Don't know if I'm gonna put that one up. Uh, just feel like I can say what I needed to say a lot quicker and a lot less annoyingly. So, got this in the mail today. It's the GD-010. It's not exactly what it is because it does have this kind of special edition Cordura band, but it is the GD-010 module. That negative readout, as was on the original orange version of this watch. Um, I was really intrigued by the larger digital readout on that when I actually got my Mudman. Um, I have actually really enjoyed the larger digital readout on this. For a time, I kind of had the opinion with these that, oh, I don't really need the larger digital readout. And why would I want it? It's just kind of louder. It's in your face. It's annoying. I'd never had one, so that was all speculation. The truth of the matter is, like you'd probably expect, it's actually just a lot more comfortable and convenient to be able to look at your wrist and very quickly index the time. And that larger digital readout assists with that. You don't need old or bad eyes to benefit from that feature. So put the pride away a little bit, try one of these out, whether it's the GD-010 with that larger readout or a Mudman, which is much less of an impulse buy, to be fair. I think either of them provide a nice experience that way. When I got this one out of the box, kind of a dim indoor lighting situation in here without my studio lights, and I wasn't impressed with the readout on it. I made that video just a few days ago about the Rangeman I just got. Let me grab that. And this thing was the first digital display Casio I've ever bought that I thought, wow, that digital display truly is bad enough to potentially make me not want to wear this watch. I've had some that aren't awesome. I mentioned in that last video, the one I had before that was the worst prior to that was this GX56, and it is not good. The digital readout on it is not great, but I think it is leagues and leagues better than this range, man. This thing is really poor. I actually have got wheels in motion to address that. Probably going to do a mod. I found out that you can do invasive mods and switch the polarizer out on the LCD. That's a little more advanced than I like. And personally, on a tough solar G-Shock, the last thing I want to do is open one of these until I absolutely have to. That's just with G-Shocks in general for me. I don't want to open them. It compromises that 200-meter water resistance. You can put it back together, reseal the gasket, grease it up. You can restore a great deal of that water resistance back, but you will never restore that complete 200 meters as in the factory conditions. So I don't like opening my G-Shocks for battery replacements until I absolutely have to. With a tough solar model, that means more like 10 or 15 years, realistically, before I should have to open this watch for any reason. So I'm not going to open it to do a risky, invasive polarizer mod. Although it would be a lot less expensive than the mod I am actually going to proceed with on this. But keep your eyes on eBay. There's going to be a Frankenwatch probably going up for sale. Rangeman. Back to the GD-010. So this thing does have a digital display negative. I ordered the positive green one too. I wanted to just see them both. Knowing me, I'm probably going to keep them both. Shouldn't, obviously, but I do like my G-Shocks. So with this one, I think that this is very much intended to be, and I don't have a lot of these, but I picked up a couple back in the day and at least have hands on this one. This is a GD-0 or a GD-100 or 110 or 120. They did a whole line with the GD analog and digital A and D with basically the same resin case on all of those, whether it was the GD-100, GD-110, 120, so on, and the analog versions as well. These ones were pretty solid G-Shock standards for a time in, I think, the 2010s. They give you a lot of wrist presence, and they look kind of fancy with these kind of complications. I think they really were chasing, I know the Rangeman didn't come out until like 2013, but they were really chasing that kind of, oh, what's going on there? Watch looks more complicated than it is in the case of the GD-100. So this is kind of a 2020s version of that, I would say, that's aiming to take that same kind of give you a little more wrist presence. This is a lot slimmer on the wrist than this, but it still has that bigger footprint, bigger lug to lug and everything that gives you the feeling like you're wearing a larger watch. It doesn't really have more functionality than this. This looks like it should have more functionality, which I think was very much the point. I don't love it. The GD and GA-100 series, just not some of my favorite Casios. I don't think they're going to really stand the test of time and become classics in the same way that the G squares and like the Casiokes already have, and the G squares certainly have earned that. And then with your stuff like a Rangeman, that has the classic status just because that watch is bulky, has that complicated look to it, but it backs it up with, it actually does have a lot of functionality that probably necessitates that larger case and wear. So this doesn't require being as big as it is, probably. I know on their regular Casio line, they just did one that's more like the square, but with the larger text. It'll be interesting to see if we get very many MIP G-Shocks that aren't part of the kind of hybrid smartwatch lineups. I know that myself and probably a solid majority of G-Shock enthusiasts do not appreciate and prefer. That's the nice thing about this one, is it is kind of a back to basics, no nonsense G-Shock in that respect. I like that it's slimmer. It has that carbon core guard, something that prior to now we've really been seeing on the GA-2000s, 2100s, so on. That does enable it to be that little bit slimmer. They didn't maximize the slimness on this one, though. I do think it's intended to be a bit of a statement piece on the wrist. It doesn't look as try-hard and over the top as that older GD-100 model, and time will tell if that remains the case. Obviously, it's not minimal by any stretch of the imagination, but something about this case design and everything just got really old to me at some point, and how big and bulky they are. Heavy, too. That carbon core does make that a considerably lighter watch. So I'd say it's a solid improvement over the GD-100 series that it's probably intended to basically replace. For 99 USD, it's a solid Casio G-Shock. No nonsense. That 10-year battery is going to be appealing versus, I know that some of the other models. I've really loved this DW5610. I think the 3229 module on there is extremely legible for a -1. That's actually just kind of set the standard for me on a good negative display. Still not as good as a basic positive display, but I've been impressed with this one. And this, on balance, probably is comparable with your readability. So that's a win. The positive display, if you like a color that comes with the positive display, is always going to be something that I'd recommend first. This kind of brown color that I wanted to try didn't have a positive display version. Also comes on this Cordura band, which this is the first one I've actually gotten from Casio direct with a Cordura band. I did have a GM5610 that I modded and had a Barton, I think, Cordura, silicone and Cordura band, kind of a hybrid. And I used that thing for the better part of a year, wore it almost every day, and it was a fantastic watch strap. Still have it. It did catch enough wear that I don't find myself wanting to put it back on any of my watches at this point, but it really did hold up to the rigors of day in and day out. And Cordura is advertised to be water resistant. It's kind of like a reinforced proprietary nylon, per se, as far as my understanding of it. I had a really good experience with that band, and this feels awful stiff out of the box, but it's already, in the half hour I've had the watch, kind of started to feel a little more malleable. Just playing with it in the hand and putting it on the wrist and off a few times. So I have a pretty high degree of confidence that that's going to break in and be a comfortable band. I know that I've read that people like these Corduras on the Casios. but it probably isn't quite as comfortable, at least right off the bat, as kind of a silicone hybrid Cordura band. Short of modding your G-Shocks, this is the Cordura option you have. So mod them or pick one of these up. But I know that this isn't the only model they've done that with either, so keep your eyes peeled. If this is popular and others have been popular, they'll probably do it again and continue to. So at least for a first impressions video, I've got to say I really like the slimness, the lightweight, and that larger digital readout. Those are all really solid wins on this watch. The day and date readout are pretty freaking poor. They're not much different than the GD-100, to be fair, so not an improvement there, but everything else about it I would say is an improvement on that watch, which my opinion is that this is very much intended to slot in and replace that GD-100 series. So I know they have the GA-010 I believe is the reference. It's probably intended to replace the GA-100 range, and the GA-2000 series, particularly, of course, the 2100, the Casio, those have really kind of won me over on the Anadigi G-Shocks, but as a general rule, I picked up a number of those GA-100, 110, so-ons a number of years ago, and I do not like those watches. They're, again, really big, really bulky, too much presence for what you're getting in terms of functionality, and, I mean, it's going to sound like hypocrisy from somebody who likes their GX56. I actually have two GX56s, and I like wearing them a lot, so they're big, but honestly, for the size they are, they're not as dense as these GA models. So even then, if I was going to wear one of these, it'd be the King. I do not wear this watch. I should sell this watch, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, all right, so that's kind of a first impressions video on the GD-010. I'd say if you're on the fence with this one, if you want a simple G-Shock, that 10-year battery is also a nice selling point. Like I was saying, you're no nonsense, no frills, other G-Shocks, whether it's a Casio or a square like this, short of tough solar and everything, these do not have a 10-year battery, not probably even a 5-year battery if you're going to be wearing it day in and day out and actuating that light on it once or more a day type thing. I'm sure that the light plays a significant role on this as well in terms of whether you're really going to get a 10-year battery as estimated or not. But it will probably last quite a bit longer than a standard G-Shock model that's comparable in price and features. So if that's an appealing thing to you, then I'd say absolutely, in conjunction with those other appealing things about this watch, with that large digital readout, that lighter weight construction, the thinner build, all winning qualities. It'll be interesting to see if this one really takes on to the point where we're starting to see mods for it. I was kind of hunting and pecking to see if I could see any screen protectors or bull bars available for these GA and GD-010s. I think the resin bezel on them, just as with the GA and GD-100 series, is identical. So in theory, they're probably pretty hot moddable that way. If you wanted to swap bezels, I don't really see much of a need to. Certainly not yet. There aren't that many models out. But that way, modding should be pretty all right. Looks like they do have kind of a quick band adapt. Well, no, those aren't quick change. As with everything Casio, you're not intended to do anything to this. So if I can find bull bars for it at some point, I will probably buy some and put them on. I think with these yellow accents, a pair of gold bull bars would look really nice on this. Or black. Black's always cleaner and less in your face. But no bull bars yet for him at all. Actually, it would be interesting to try. I'm sure it won't work. I am absolutely sure it won't work because we'll try it. I'm going to pop this bull bar off of my G. Ow. It's so much thicker, it's not going to work, I'm sure. But so that's the GD 100 or 110, 120. I don't know, one of those. And this is the bull bar, probably an old J's and K's bull bar for it. Doesn't look like it's worlds apart. Oh, Okay, it's got some play. But you know what? It's got way too much play. Way too much play. But it kind of looks nice. On the wrist, it probably wouldn't hop around like that. So get on it, J's and K's. We want bull bars for these boys. Those do slot up quite nicely with kind of the divots in the bezel. And yeah, that just looks right, don't it? Just I don't know if a G-Shock really earns its wings until you can see it in a pair of bull bars. A set of bull bars. I don't know. Whatever the case, maybe I'll leave those on there for a day and see how it goes. I don't like how much play there is on that. There's nothing really to do about it, but they fit and they'd function all right on the wrist especially. So for now, that's kind of my first impressions video on this GD-010. And I'd say if you're on the fence about it, again, if you're looking for something that's more basic, has that basic G-Shock feature set, and is a little more legible while still being light, comfortable, and built well, this is a solid one. I hear that the GA2300s and the GBD or GDB 500, kind of those ultra slim G-Shocks that came out last year. I've got one of the GDB 500s heading towards me right now, and we're going to take a look at that. I don't think it's going to usurp the G-Square order, but I am intrigued by kind of the funkiness of it. I think this is a safer bet than those in terms of if you want something that's more of a tried and true G-Shock. No smart features, no need to hook it up to your phone. Just gonna take care of business and do a good job for you. And awesome watch for that. So I'll wear it a little bit, hopefully have an update, maybe a full review, something a little more concise than this. This is kind of a long rambling impressions and comparison video. So in the meantime, have a good one. Whatever you're rocking on your wrist, don't baby it.